Group 3, and this week's presentation will be on ethical and legal issues. Ethics and morality is used quite interchangeably. However, ethics focuses on the academic and philosophical side of right and wrong, whereas morality focuses on the individual and general social norms, values, and beliefs. Ethics is defined as the process of carefully thinking through what is right or wrong in the behavior, decision-making, and values. Morality is defined as the beliefs about what we consider to be right or wrong in our actions and behaviors towards those around us. No matter what issue or problems arise that a nurse must help to solve, every nurse must remember that every nursing act is a moral statement, and that it is also important to take into account the code of ethics and the law. There are many fields within the study of ethics, such as bioethics, medical ethics, environmental ethics, and business ethics. Bioethics is one of the main ones we will be focusing on, and Walton describes it as the study of ethical issues surrounding human lives, health, and illness. Just like any other issue that arises, one must articulate the issue, analyze the issue, identify any barriers, and then find strategies to help resolve it. Walton states that one of the first steps is to not only identify that there's an ethical problem, but also to recognize our own values and beliefs and how they affect a decision we make and the impact that they can have. When we analyze the issues, we must understand the ethical theories. The two most used ethical theories are deontological and consequentialist. Deontological or duty-based ethics focuses on the duties we have towards others and how these duties allow decisions and actions to be morally right. Three dilemmas to this theory are: it is difficult to decide what our duties are, there are often multiple and competing duties, and to pay attention only to the duties and not the possible outcomes or consequences of these duties can become problematic and ethically irresponsible. Consequentialist theories focuses on the state of an action and the rightness or wrongness the outcomes and consequences can cause. Utilitarianism is the most known consequentialist theory and is widely used in public health. Examples are vaccines and quarantines. In utilitarianism, an action is ethical if the positive outcomes, such as happiness or pleasure, outweigh the negative outcomes, such as pain or sadness. However, there are also three dilemmas to this theory. How does one predict the outcome of future? How does one measure the abstract and subjective notions, such as happiness or pain? What one person considers to be a good outcome may be different from another. The Canadian Nurses Association created the Code of Ethics for registered nurses, in which outlines 7 nursing values and ethical responsibilities that must be followed and applied in everyday nursing practice. It is regulated by a professional regulatory body and is constantly being revised by the CNA. However, as many nurses know, what we know to be legal may not be ethical. For instance, discharging a patient because of a bed demand on a unit. This patient might be medically stable, but what about other contributing factors, such as home care, social, or financial support? That could potentially cause this patient more harm in the future. It is a nurse's responsibility to make sure that ethically this patient is being advocated for and is properly discharged for success outside of the hospital. Moral distress has been defined as knowing the right thing to do but being unable to do it. In most cases, this is caused from institutional action and organizations' rules and standards. There are 3 strategies for resolving ethical dilemmas. These are moral integrity, an ethical decision-making model, and ethical leadership and moral courage. Moral integrity is having an overall good moral character and having a sense of wholeness, completeness, and being morally intact. The ethical decision-making model is a model that can help structure the activity of working through such a problem. However, no model can guarantee the decision will be a good one and does not replace thoughtful reflection and consideration of the issue. Ethical leadership and moral courage. Having a leader that is a moral compass for nurses and promotes positive ethical input to help solve an issue, and using the courage to overcome fears, stick up for one's own beliefs, and to be the ultimate advocate when others can't be. A study by Collier and Halberton, a worldwide virus has broken out, causing a pandemic. Unfortunately, it is untreatable and spreading rapidly with no vaccine yet created and a high fatality rate. As a technician at a cryogenics institute, it is up to us, as assigned by the government, to select individuals to be cryogenically frozen, a process which allows individuals to be preserved at very low temperatures. Even though there are 600 chambers available across the world, our facility only has 10, in which 5 are already being occupied. In the occupied chambers, there are a famous movie director, loved for his creation of children cartoon characters, a rich playboy known for drinking, gambling, and drug addictions, which placed him in a coma, and no practical skills, but he was rich enough to buy himself a spot in a chamber. A rich woman known for the exploitation of third world workers and has skills useful in a capitalist economy. The founder of the cryogenics facility, and a world-famous physicist that focused his studies on space exploration. However, each of these occupants are terminally ill, and even though they signed a contract with the facility that says to keep them in the chamber until a cure is found for each illness, they will die if they are removed from said chamber. Hand-picked potential candidates to be placed in the chambers are as follows. 2 politicians who are female and at reproductive age, and they both possess useful leadership skills. One is a president of a modern democracy with stunning rhetorical skills. One is a leader of a communist country, not open to democracy, who has increased the living of her citizens. A doctor who has great surgical skills, but was recently convicted of sexually exploiting young female patients. A famous elderly novelist. A water treatment specialist who has experience providing clean water in remote parts of Africa. A young female environmental scientist currently working on wind energy technology. A great spiritual leader who has great spiritual insight, gentleness, commitment to human rights, and strong spiritual guidance. He was willing to give up his spot so others could be preserved. A young farmer, his wife, and his handicapped infant daughter. The farmer won't be saved without his wife and daughter. Yourself as a technician, and also your daughter and young dog. And also your young female co-worker. While going through who you should and shouldn't preserve, a notorious gangster appears, claiming he will kill you and your coworker if you don't preserve him. At this point, you know that you can pretend to agree to the gangster's conditions and stop the cryogenics process halfway through, and then remove him from the chamber that would cause his death and eliminate him as a threat and potential chamber occupant. The following decisions must be made. Who should you choose to preserve? Should you remove those who have already been placed in cryostasis? How do you respond to the gangster? Will you stay behind? And is there any person or representative group missing from the proposed group? When deciding upon if we should keep any original people in the cryogenic chambers, we weighed the pros and cons and decided that we would not keep any of the present people in the chambers. We looked at each individual and decided why they would not be a good contributor to the plan. The famous movie director. As a group, we decided that the movie director would not be a useful contributor because he had no real skills other than making famous films when it came to restarting civilization. A rich playboy. In the summary, it stated that the playboy had no practical skills, so when restarting civilization, he would just continue with his bad habits and may eventually harm himself again when making bad addiction choices. Rich woman. Although she possessed useful skills when it came to a capitalist economy, we had already chosen a politician, so we decided that we only needed one person in chambers involved with politics. When you have too many people involved in politics within the chamber, it may cause a rift between the survivors. The founder. Although the founder would have been useful when it came to understanding the chambers, the people we decided to use the chambers would have been more useful for restarting civilization and making a contribution to the rest of society. World-famous physicist. Although this physicist is a smart individual, when it comes to rebuilding a civilization, we are not concerned with space exploration. President of modern democracy. We decided not to keep him because we decided the other politician had better contributions to the new civilizations due to the ability to increase the standards of living. Also, if we kept 2 different politicians within the chambers, it might create a split between the civilization depending on their different beliefs. Myself, senior technician, daughter, and pet. We decided not to include ourselves in the cryogenic chambers because one technician had to stay behind to monitor the process. It was also decided because the young technician is more proficient and would be better to help repopulate when re-civilization occurs. Along with the senior technician, it would have included his daughter and the daughter's pet. Since we decided to leave the senior technician behind, that included the daughter and pet as well. In the end, all of the individuals already occupying the chambers were terminally ill, and after further examination they would not be great contributors to the new civilization. When making our decisions, we focused on the ethical theory utilitarianism. As described by McIntyre et al., utilitarianism is when an action is deemed to be ethically sound if it minimizes the negative outcomes and maximizes the positive outcomes. In this case, we weighed the pros and cons, and when deciding who would be best to restart civilization, we looked to the individuals that would contribute best with their knowledge and ability to reproduce. In the end, we did have to remove some individuals that might be good contributors, but we replaced them with people who had even better contributing qualities. In the end, as stated in McIntyre et al., our ability to predict outcomes is imperfect. Individuals we chose to keep. First is a young female technician. She will be preserved because she is more skilled in her job and has been trained to handle the chambers. She is of reproductive age and can help ensure the continuation of the human race. The leader of the communist country. She has managed to substantially increase the standard of living of her citizens, and she possesses useful leadership skills that will be needed in a new society. The doctor. He possesses impressive surgical skills. Although he would be in jail if it weren't for the pandemic crisis, a doctor will be needed to help these people when they wake up, and it will be useful when people have babies. The novelist. He is at the height of his creative powers and has the capacity to capture the tragedy unfolding for humanity in literary form. He is elderly, but has the ability to record what happened. The water treatment specialist. They have extensive experience providing clean water in remote parts of Africa. This will be useful for new societies since they have the ability to provide everyone with clean water. Environmental scientist. She is currently working in wind energy technology and will be able to provide the new society with energy. Also, she is a young female of reproductive age. Spiritual leader. He volunteered a spot to someone else, but he will be valuable to the new society. He can provide the people with much needed spiritual guidance and can provide them with coping skills once they wake up. The young farmer. Farmers are important to ensure food supplies in the new society. They have the ability to farm in the new society and increase the chances of long-term survival. He has strong ties with his family and refuses to be saved without his wife and daughter. The farmer's wife. She will help ensure food supplies. She is also of reproductive age and can have more children to help ensure continuance of the human species. The farmer's daughter. She is physically and mentally handicapped due to oxygen deprivation at birth. She may be more of a burden to her parents than a help, but the farmers will be happy and agree to be saved knowing that she will be saved as well. A utilitarianism approach was also used while choosing who to freeze. These people have been chosen to be saved because this action will produce the greatest amount of happiness for the greatest number of people. Most of the people included have the greatest chance of survival compared to the people left behind. Most of them are young and have the skills and ability to ensure the continuation of the human species. Although there are a couple elders, they will be valuable due to the fact that they can provide wisdom and help their fellow survivors. Case study questions. The first question was who should you choose to preserve? And we answered that in previous slides. Question number 2. Is there any person or representative group missing from the proposed group? We answered no. The group includes a healthcare professional, a food supplier, fertile individuals, a scientist, a political leader, a spiritual leader, creative writer, a water treatment specialist, and a wind energy specialist. This group consists of all necessary individuals needed to rebuild a community after a world disaster, such as a pandemic. Question 3. Will you remove anyone from the cryogenic chambers? We have decided to move all of the current cryogenic chamber occupants out in order to fill the chambers with 10 new candidates. All the current occupants are terminally ill, and currently there is no cure for their disease. Due to the pandemic, there would likely be no one left to work at finding a cure for them. Therefore, they would remain ill when reanimated. Thus, we did not believe that with their illnesses they would be helpful for long-term survival of the human species. We decided that it would be better for space to be taken up by individuals that would survive longer and therefore be able to offer more to the future society. For more detailed information and reasoning behind